Welcome back to Wyckmoore.
The Mystical Realm of Wyckmoore Part 6. The Path of Clouds, Rowan's Trial. The moment Rowan's feet hit the cloud path, the world tilted. It wasn't fluffy like she'd imagined. The clouds here were solid, smooth as marble and faintly warm, carrying the scent of rain that had not yet fallen. Wind howled around her, tugging at her hair and clothes, but the path held firm under her steps, rising higher and higher until the sea of mist below became a distant, swirling floor. She glanced back, no sign of the keeper or the siren. The paths had pulled them apart like threads unraveling from the same cloth. The only thing behind her now was the star-crowned serpent-masked hunter. It moved in unnerving silence, sliding along the clouds as if the wind bent to let it pass. Its moonlight blade shimmered, dripping silver droplets that vanished before they hit the ground. Rowan forced her legs to move faster. Ahead, the cloud path split into archways of light, each glowing a different hue: gold, violet, and green. The golden one pulsed like a heartbeat, the violet one hummed with a faint, low tone, and the green one flickered as though its light was unstable. She chose the golden arch. The instant she passed through, the air grew warm and still. She found herself in a long, floating corridor made of glass, suspended between two suns, one red, one blue, their light mixing to paint the walls in shifting patterns. Beneath her feet she could see 1,000 dream worlds drifting below, rivers that ran uphill, cities built on the backs of colossal turtles, mountains shaped like sleeping giants. But she wasn't alone here. From the far end of the corridor a figure appeared, tall, cloaked in feathers that shifted color with every step. Its eyes glowed amber, and in its hands it held a shard. Not the shard, but a piece of one, its surface cracked, leaking thin streams of dream light into the air. "You shouldn't be here," the feathered figure said, voice soft but commanding. "This is a corridor between other people's dreams. If you linger too long, you will forget your own." Rowan hesitated. She could feel it already, the tug of foreign dreams brushing against her thoughts, whispering, "Stay here, live here, belong here." Somewhere far away the bell tolled 6 times. One more and the bridge would appear. "I don't have time," Rowan said. "Please, I need to get to the shifting bridge." The feathered figure studied her. "Then you will have to give me something in return. A memory you cherish most." The Canyon of Mirrors, Keeper's Trial. When the cloud path split, the keeper didn't hesitate. He took the canyon route, boots striking the glassy descent with a steady rhythm. His lantern swung in his hand, its golden light keeping the twisting shadows at bay. The canyon walls rose high on either side, jagged and sharp, but instead of stone they were made entirely of mirrors. Some smooth as still ponds, others cracked into 1,000 pieces. The reflections didn't always match what stood before them. At first, the keeper saw himself exactly as he was, tall, weathered, dressed in the dark coat he had worn since he could remember. But as he descended deeper, the mirrors began to show other versions of him. In one he was younger, his face unlined, holding the lantern with pride and purpose. In another his coat was torn, his hair matted, eyes hollow as if he'd seen too many nightmares. And in a third, there was no lantern in his hands at all, just darkness swallowing him whole. The air in the canyon grew cold. His breath fogged in front of him. From somewhere within the reflections a voice spoke. "You failed them, Keeper. You failed all of them." The keeper froze. He knew that voice. A mirror to his right began to ripple like disturbed water, and from its surface stepped a man identical to him, but his lantern was shattered, its pieces bleeding light into the air. "This is where you stop," the mirror keeper said. "You can't guide anyone anymore. You're the reason they're lost." The real keeper tightened his grip on his lantern. "That's not true." The mirror keeper tilted his head. "Then why do you carry their names in your coat pocket? Why do you never speak them aloud?" The keeper's jaw clenched. His free hand instinctively moved toward the inner lining of his coat, where slips of paper, dreamers he could not save, were tucked away. The canyon walls seemed to close in, mirrors leaning toward him like silent judges. "You can leave now," the reflection said softly. "Drop the lantern. Forget the bridge. Go home. No more running." For a heartbeat, the keeper almost believed him. The weight of his failures pressed like a stone against his chest. Then, faint, almost lost under the wind, came the sound of the 6th chime. One more and the bridge would open. The keeper looked at the reflection and, for the first time, smiled without warmth. "If I stop, she's lost. I'm not here for me." He raised his lantern. Its golden light flared, brighter than it had in years, and the mirrors nearest him cracked in unison, sending shards cascading to the ground like falling stars. The mirror keeper hissed and dissolved into the shattered glass. The canyon shifted, the path ahead clearing, sloping upward toward the place where the bridge might appear. The spiral of colors, Siren's trial. The siren's path began as a simple staircase of pearl, winding upward through the mist. But with each step the stairs shifted hue, white then silver then deep violet, until she was climbing inside a column of swirling color that seemed to breathe. The air here was heavy, almost syrupy, making her limbs move slower. Every breath tasted faintly of honey and salt. Somewhere high above, the colors spun faster, forming shapes. An island ringed with soft sands. A cabin lit by warm candlelight. A sky where no storm ever came. Her heart ached. It was her dream island, the one she'd always imagined when the world felt too sharp. A voice, deep and kind, drifted down through the spiral. "You've wandered long enough, little tide song. Come home." She kept climbing, but her pulse slowed. It was so easy to picture herself stepping through one more turn of the spiral and finding the shore waiting. No more dangerous bridges. No more star-crowned hunter. The stairs widened into a platform, and there it was, the island. Waves lapped the sand. A hammock swayed between two palms. A fire burned in a stone circle with food she hadn't tasted in years. And standing in the shallows was someone she knew. Her sister. The siren's throat tightened. Her sister had been gone for so long that sometimes she feared she'd imagined her. But here she was, smiling, hair braided the way she used to wear it when they were small. "You don't have to leave," her sister said, extending a hand. "Stay. Everything you've ever wanted is here. You'll never be alone again." The siren stepped forward until the warm sand cradled her feet. She could feel the breeze, hear the gulls cry. It felt real. But then she heard it, a faint sound beneath the waves, the bell. 6 chimes fading. One more and the bridge would appear. If she stayed, she'd never reach it. She shut her eyes, let the wind wash over her, and whispered, "You're not my sister. She would never keep me from the tide." When she opened her eyes, the figure on the shore dissolved into light, and the island crumbled like sand tossed into the sea. The spiral tightened again, its colors drawing inward to form a narrow stair ahead. The siren climbed, faster this time, the pull of the dream broken. And at the top she saw it, a sliver of the shifting bridge forming in the distance. The seventh chime. The seventh chime did not ring like the others. It struck with a deep, resonant boom that made the clouds shiver. Somewhere above the fog, something vast and old had stirred, and now the shifting bridge was waking. From 3 directions they came. Rowan emerged first, pushing through the last curl of forest mist. Her hands were scratched from the vines, but she still clutched the talisman the cloud moth had given her. Its silver threads glowed faintly as if sensing the bridge's call. From the canyon, the keeper stepped out into the open. His lantern's light burned steady and sure now, though his jaw was still set from the trial he'd faced. He spotted Rowan at once, and though he didn't call out, the tension in his shoulders eased. And from the spiral path, the siren climbed into view. Her hair was windswept, her gaze sharp. When she saw the others, she let out a long breath, relief tempered by urgency. Because the bridge was already forming. It began as a shimmer in the air, then solidified into pale stone. Each segment floated apart from the others with nothing but open air between them. Wisps of starlight ran along the edges like molten silver. The bridge didn't connect to any visible shore. It simply stretched into the mist until the eye could no longer follow it. Rowan took a step forward and froze. From the far side of the forming bridge, something moved. A tall figure, crowned with jagged silver, cloak trailing like a tattered shadow. In his hand, he carried a spear tipped with a shard of night itself. The star-crowned hunter. His voice carried across the gap, cold and certain. The bridge opens for the strongest will. Step forward if you dare. The keeper shifted his lantern to his left hand, his right settling near the knife at his belt. The siren's fingers brushed the conch shell at her side, ready to summon the tide if she needed to. Rowan felt the talisman in her palm pulse as if it had a heartbeat. She realized then, this wasn't just about crossing the bridge. Someone might have to fight to keep it open. The 7th chime faded into silence. And then the bridge began to hum. Each stone drifted closer together, but not all at once. It would take time to lock into place, and during that time, anything could happen. The hunter stepped onto the first segment, his boots making no sound. His eyes, cold and bright, never left Rowan. The keeper moved forward to block him, but Rowan spoke first. If it's will you want to test, then you'll have to go through all of us. The bridge shuddered as if approving the challenge. The first step onto the bridge. The shifting bridge was no ordinary span of stone. Every piece floated in its own slow orbit, and between them hung gaps wide enough to swallow the unwary into the clouds below. The moment Rowan stepped onto the first segment, she felt a pull, not downward but outward, as if the air wanted to carry her into the fog. She tightened her grip on the talisman, letting its silver threads anchor her mind. The keeper followed, his lantern's glow stretching across the gap ahead like a path of light. The siren brought up the rear, her bare feet whispering against the stone. And opposite them, the star-crowned hunter advanced. He did not hurry. He didn't need to. Every movement was precise, like a predator that already knew where the prey would falter. The first gap loomed. The segment ahead swayed slowly as though it were breathing. Rowan bent her knees, sprang. And the hunter struck. The spear's shadow lashed across the air, not touching her but twisting the wind so that her leap veered off course. She landed hard, one knee slamming against the stone, the talisman nearly slipping from her grasp. The keeper's lantern flared. He swung it toward the hunter and the light bent, not blinding him but forcing him to pause. You'll find, the keeper said, voice low, that not every shadow welcomes you. The siren used the moment to sing. It wasn't a melody for comfort this time. It was a sharp, rising note that made the stones beneath the hunter's feet tilt. He staggered just enough for Rowan to get back on her feet. But the bridge didn't like the fight. The hum beneath their feet deepened, and cracks of light began to spread along the edges of each segment. A warning. The bridge was alive, and it might decide to vanish if they pushed too far. "Keep moving," Rowan called. "It won't hold forever." They leapt the second gap together, the keeper steady, the siren's song keeping the stones from swaying too wildly, Rowan darting ahead toward the heart of the bridge. The hunter followed without effort, each leap impossibly smooth. He wasn't just chasing them. He was herding them toward something further ahead. And then they saw it. At the midpoint of the bridge stood a tall, silver gate, its bars woven like the ribs of a whale. Beyond it was only blinding white light. The hunter smiled faintly. "That's the threshold. Whoever passes first decides where it leads." The threshold. The silver gate pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat made of light. Every time the bridge shifted beneath them, the bars rippled as though woven from living metal. Rowan slowed as she approached. The closer she got, the more the air seemed to thicken, not in weight but in memory. Fragments of her own past shimmered faintly in the mist around the gate. The apple tree near her childhood home, the narrow stream where she'd first dared to cross barefoot, the night sky she used to count stars under. The keeper stepped up beside her, lantern raised. In his light, the mist formed shapes. People Rowan didn't recognize, but he clearly did. His eyes softened for a heartbeat before hardening again. The siren's gaze was fixed on the bars themselves. "It's not just a door," she said quietly. "It's a choice. Whoever touches it first will bind it to their path. That's why he's following us." Behind them, the star-crowned hunter landed on the segment with a soundless step. "You learn quickly," he said, the faintest trace of respect in his voice. "But knowledge won't stop me." Rowan clutched the talisman. "What's beyond it?" The hunter tilted his head. "Whatever you want, if you're strong enough to hold it." The bridge groaned, the gaps between segments widening. One more shift like that and their path back would be gone entirely. The gate was no longer just a choice. It was the only way forward. The keeper took a step toward it, and the bars flashed, pushing him back with a sound like a struck bell. "It won't open to more than one at a time," the siren said. "That's the test." Rowan's heart pounded. If one of them went through alone, the others might be stranded. And if the hunter went first, she doubted any of them would like where they ended up. The hunter spun the spear in one hand, the point glinting like frozen lightning. "Well," he said, taking another step closer. "Who claims the path?" The light in the gate brightened, waiting for someone to decide.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Wyckmoore series, please subscribe.